had the OG Anunoby trade to the Knicks yesterday, which kind of takes, I suppose, one of the potential options for Golden State out the window. They obviously had a link to OG going back to last season's deadline, where I think the reports were, well, I remember Shams, he reported that the Warriors were interested in OG Anunoby going down to the last 2 hours before the trade deadline. I'm pretty sure at that point Masai Ujiri wanted Jonathan Kuminga a part of it, and I don't think Bob Myers at that point was willing to give that up. So the price demand from Toronto was a little high. He goes to the Knicks now for RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, and a second-round pick, and then Toronto get Precious Achiuwa and Malachi Flynn as well. Initially, I looked at it, I thought, geez, good deal for the Raptors, because I'm not particularly sure. Is OG a guaranteed better player than RJ? I don't know. It depends what you want, and that's why I looked at it initially and thought, okay, great deal for Toronto, but then I looked at it from Knicks side, I thought, okay, I can see why they did this, because I think OG is a much, much better fit next to Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle than RJ Barrett is, because of what he can bring you defensively, because he's not going to say, give me the ball for 10 possessions a half and let me cook. When you got those two guys who ideally you want the ball in their hand, you want those two guys sharing the ball handling and shot creating duties, and then you want guys off ball threats who do also have the capacity, I suppose, to put the ball on the floor, attack closeouts a little bit like OG does, and then he's one of the best perimeter wing defenders in the league. So I think it's a good fit for New York, and I can clearly see why they did it and why they might have overpaid slightly, I suppose, to make it happen. And obviously, Emmanuel Quickley, his free agency stuff sounds like he wanted more than what the Knicks were willing to pay him come free agency. So you get something for him now. It makes sense. So I just thought a pretty good deal for both teams. I can see why both teams did it. But it may accelerate, I suppose, the timing for Pascal Siakam here, who was reported yesterday. Many league executives feel like he's going to be the next player to fall here for Toronto. And, of course, the Warriors have been linked with him as well in the past. I'm going to kind of hold off my thoughts, but the only thing I will say is that I'm not sure who the Warriors small forward is if they trade for Pascal Siakam, because you're narrowing yourself into having to have Pascal and Draymond as your 4 and 5, and then who's your 3? Is Wiggins part of the trade? Probably. And so it can't be him. Kuminga's shooting yesterday, just on a different topic. That might have been the worst I've seen Jonathan Kuminga ever shoot the ball. And I think he was like 1 of 5 or 1 of 4 or something. But if you just go back and look at the shots themselves, the ball barely got above the rim. Like, they were so flat. They were so flat. And as a guy who I go down to my local court and I try and shoot, and I'm always so flat on my jumpers, I cannot get any arc whatsoever. I was watching, I was thinking, he's got no chance of going in. And he actually did make one, I think, in the fourth quarter. But that looked bad, his shooting yesterday. So you cannot, at this point, you cannot play him at the 3. As nice of a defensive kind of versatility and strength that would give you at the 3, 4, and the 5. But again, you're going to be asking to play Draymond. Like, are you going to Siakam shooting 25% from 3-point range this season? Are you going to be asking him to play at the 3 with Draymond and Jackson Davis? I mean, that's big. That's a big lineup, which would be very different to what the Warriors have rolled out previously, especially when you've got a 6'6" Klay Thompson at the 2, assuming in that lineup. So I don't know. That's the issue for me with Siakam, is I don't know who plays at the 3. It's fine, I suppose, if you trade Chris Paul and whatever else and keep Wiggins, and maybe you just say, okay, Wiggins is our 3. Do you say that Pods comes back in, or CP3 still in there, so it's CP3, Steph, Clay, or Steph, Clay, Pods? Like, I don't know, and that's the issue right now, is the Warriors have these kind of lineup roster issues that maybe even a big trade for Pascal Siakam won't fix.